Two Ugly Nerds podcast.
Welcome to the
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Two Ugly Nerds Shorts. We are here. I'm here, obviously, with Geronimo, Mr. Nintendo Pro Streamer. You guys know Jahra. Also here with a new guest, first-time guest, John Paul, big-time supporter of the podcast. Love him for that. You always plugging us when he goes viral on Twitter, because he does that often with a lot of his takes and a lot of his posts. So we got John Paul here today. And if you guys listen to our show and you follow John Paul, then you know what he's here to talk about, because it's one of the things he's been very adamant about. And so I wanted to make sure we gave him a platform to talk about it here. And so John Paul, let me give John Paul a chance to say hello to everybody first before we just dive into it. What's up, John?
Hey, what's up? Obviously, you all know my name. My name is John Paul. Graduate of Georgia Southern with a bachelor's in writing and linguistics, minor in film studies, hoping to get into the film industry in any way.
Mm-hmm.
And as
Awesome.
said, like, I'm obviously a big supporter. Like, whenever my tweets go big, I always try and plug them, try and bring new listeners to the show. And yeah, sorry. First time podcast, just kind of a bit nervous, but
Nah, bro, you're good, man. You're good.
Nah, man,
We
you're doing
love
great.
having you.
Welcome.
We love having you, bro. We love having you. And trust me, you get real confident when we start telling you that they shouldn't recast T'Challa. No, look. So we're here to talk about recasting T'Challa, guys. Okay. It's something that we've mentioned a little bit here and there on the podcast. I don't know if we've sat down and dived like too deep into just that. But we've talked about it here and there. And I don't know, Jahra, what do you say? I guess between us on the regular pod, we've been pretty middle of the road, like not necessarily super emotional if they were to recast him, but understanding why they would make the decision to not do it. I don't think we've really been hard one way or the other.
If you were to ask me this last year, this time, then I definitely would have been hard. Like, no, don't recast me time soon. Just because I couldn't. I guess because at that point I didn't really have a good idea or vision for at least the MCU's context of how they can eloquently reintroduce a new Black Panther outside the obvious true recasting, which so far based off like set photos and junk of new movie. That seems to be where they're going with for some part of it, at least in my opinion. But now I've kind of thought about it a lot over time. We've gotten other stuff like the different portrayals and what if. Of course, seeing our man John Paul here and kind of speak the truths on social media. So I've had to change a thought process on it, and I am kind of middle of the road and kind of just want to learn more on what else T'Challa Black Panther can bring to just the larger MCU as a whole. So that's kind of where I'm at now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I think I am still middle of the road. I'm not torn one way or another about it. That's not, and maybe John Paul can swing me some more here. But even still, I read everything. I read stuff and I see what's out there. But I don't know. I'm not. It would be dope if they did it and if they could do it well, which obviously we'll get to some ways they can. But if they don't, and also, I guess I do have to put the disclaimer here for myself. I guess I'm the more DC leaning person here, right? So, I don't have as much of a connection to the MCU characters as a whole. Yeah, I like them. I've enjoyed them on the big screen. I enjoy the MCU. I like watching all the movies, like the shows, everything. Y'all hear me every week. Come on here and talk about the characters and everything that I enjoy, and I'm having a blast. But I don't have this deep connection like from my childhood about it. So I guess there's that disconnect where you guys are going to see certain stories and you want to see certain stories that maybe you remember that you loved, and you want to see that come to the MCU in some form or fashion. And I just don't have that. So I take that with a grain of salt as we're having a discussion. But yeah, so John, let's get into some of the reasons why you feel like so obviously, I guess a little bit back, right? Obviously, so Chadwick Boseman passed. Things were up in the air, and then the studio said, hey, we're not recasting T'Challa, at least at the moment. That's how they announced it. Said we're not doing it. We're going to move forward. This is how we want to honor Chadwick's legacy. And that's what split most of the fan base here, right? So you got the people who feel like that's respectful, that's what you should do. Chadwick was the best, and he was perfect for the role. He did it well. Shouldn't be replaced this quickly in an ongoing franchise. And obviously, this is a new venture. I don't think we ever had a franchise that's been this, I guess, wide spanning and growing for so long. So to have an actor pass away in the middle of it is a different thing, right? So this is different than I guess most situations, and that's what split it. And so yeah, so John, get into some of those reasons why you feel like it wouldn't be any sort of disrespect to recast his character, just straight up, without any of the reasons for how you can recast him, or without any of that. Just how do you just, if we were to come in tomorrow, if they were to come out tomorrow and say, hey, look, you know what, we know what we said, but we actually just going to recast him. You don't feel like there would be any sort of disrespect to Chadwick Boseman or his legacy in any sort of way with that type of move?
Okay. Well, let me just make something clear right now. Like, those of us who do want them recast, we don't want an immediate recast. Like, we're at the end of the day, like, we're still respectful to the feelings of the cast and crew, because at the end of the day, like, they knew the guy personally, we didn't. So we feel like if they just need to take some time, just give themselves time to process all this and then recast it, then that's firstly fine. Like, if you want to put T'Challa on the shelf for a little bit, then that's fine. Like, we don't want him recast immediately. We want him recast eventually. And going on to the reasons why we feel like it wouldn't be disrespectful is because, like, well, Chadwick Boseman said this himself, like he was texting Roland Martin a couple of months before he passed, and he said, like, yo, like, I always like taking on roles that are a lot bigger than myself. Like, he personally believed that the role of T'Challa was bigger than him, in the same way, like, it's like some of his, like, previous roles, like Thurgood Marshall and like Marshall, or Jackie Robinson 42, or James Brown and Get On Up, like those are big name historical figures, and he like taking on the challenge of like bringing their stories to the big screen. Like, he was always about like playing roles that just uplift Black people, you know. Like, there was a reason why he always passed on doing slave movies, you know what I'm saying? So like, personally, I feel like just shutting down the very first Black superhero in comics, like, we're talking about a character that was created at the height of the civil rights movement, that can just basically be the embodiment for positive Black portrayals. And, you know, like, after T'Challa made his debut in 1966, that just basically paved the way for all kinds of like positive minority representation in comics, like not just Black, but, you know, like, after T'Challa, then we got Storm, and obviously much later on we got characters like John Stewart, Static, and Blade, all of them, like, literally they all owe it to T'Challa for knocking that door down for them. So personally, I feel like, okay, like, we have a character that is literally Black history, and, you know, like, just to shut a role like down like that permanently, like, that just does a disservice to both the character and Chadwick, in my opinion. You know, you feel where I'm coming from?
I can understand that.
Yeah, same.
I wonder if there's something to be said to the fact that maybe, and this is just me, I hate doing this, but I guess it's me playing a little bit of devil's advocate. But the idea that maybe, like I was saying earlier, the MCU is a different type of beast. It's something different. We've never seen it before. We've never seen something grow this way. And it kind of only makes sense that people may not see it all the way through for any different reason. Like, anything could happen to any of these actors at any time. So on one hand, and especially when you think of like Kevin Feige, you think of the original like MCU and having like a 10-year plan and all that type of stuff. That's bold because I mean, don't get me wrong, like obviously, like you want everybody to be safe and you hope everybody's safe and everything like that. But life happens, the world happens around you, things happen. To kind of base a thing, and kind of most of your project is I expect these actors to be able to come in here for the next 10 years. That's asking for a lot. And so the potential for unfortunate circumstances will come up often, right? So on one hand, it is touchy, right? Like Chadwick being the one that it happens to, him being this respected figure, especially in acting and amongst the Black community, him playing all these big, powerful roles. Yeah, I can see why it's a little more touchy than, maybe somebody else passing away in a different role where it might have been easier for them to just say, hey, yeah, just go ahead and recast them. But if this happens again, how many characters do you shelve to respect their legacy? Because now they kind of set a precedent, right? So they did it for Chadwick. If this something else was to happen to, I don't even want to say anybody's name, so I don't want to wish that on anybody. But if this was to happen to another actor, then do they have to do the same thing? Do they have to shelve the same character? So in that respect, I understand it. On the other hand, with Chadwick specifically, I wonder if him getting to have that shine in the MCU, being on that stage, does he have to live in the MCU to tell his stories? And that's why I'm saying I don't necessarily know. Because while yes, it would have been amazing if we were able to get him to go through the full Black Panther trilogy in the MCU, I just wonder if, because he shines such a light, people are looking for that Black Panther content now, right? Like he's come to the forefront. People want to see it. And I just wonder if people are going to watch it if it's a TV show. People will watch it if it's an animated show. People are going to watch it in different mediums. I think people would be into it. You know what I mean? And I would assume there was a spike in the comics, even though I know people don't read comics as much anyway nowadays anymore, regardless. But there had to have been little spikes just around that time. Even if people weren't necessarily reading them, people were picking them up, right? For the covers, to collect them, just to have one. You know what I mean? People are doing that type of stuff. So I'm just wondering if the T'Challa stories, just because of the route they chose to go this time with Chadwick and him passing, they chose to at least for now to shelve him. Can you see it where they say, hey, look, this happened in the MCU. It's really unfortunate. And, the crew and just everybody that did, it's just not going to work for us to recast him and for somebody else to be in that role. It's just not going to work. Right. Because it just won't. Right. And you guys, you were saying it from the beginning, like y'all respect that. And so if that's the case, then I wonder, are people willing to accept him being boosted in other mediums though? What if he gets his own animated show that's a big thing? We get to see, more Wakanda stories, and obviously in animation, you can do different things you can do in live action. Then what if there's a T'Challa, Wakanda T'Challa TV show where you can place him in a different time era or something like that, so that you can tell his stories in different ways. Just something, he could be promoted in different ways. It just may not be the main MCU where those stories are being told anymore. Is you think that's a way they could go about it that would satisfy people?
Absolutely. Definitely. Like, I'm gonna share something with you. Like, I know, like, you guys feel a sort kind of way about that Avengers game that came out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
you listen to the pod,
Yeah, I know, but I'm gonna share something with you. Like, recently, like, Forbes posted that the Avengers game has actually kind of rebounded in terms of sales, and that happened after the War for Wakanda expansion.
Of course. Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm not surprised.
Cool.
I wanted to pick it up for that expansion. 100%.
I personally bought the game for my PS4 for cheap, mind you, just so I can play that DLC, and
right.
I loved it. Like, Christopher Judge, he killed it as T'Challa, and
right.
Oh, that's right. He did play T'Challa. Okay, nice.
And the thing is, like, he was initially scared to do it because, like, he was scared, like, everyone was gonna, oh God, like, Chadwick Boseman just passed, like, now everybody's probably gonna compare me to him, and he initially refused it, and then his family's all like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Get in that recording booth right now.
Yeah.
And everyone loved his performance, and I see, like, comments under his social media pages, like, regarding to the game. He was like, dude, you did a good job. Chad would be so proud. And the fact that that expansion actually ended up saving that game that was botched so badly coming out of the gate. That just proves to me, like, yes, people do love T'Challa, even though we're still hurting over what happened to Chadwick. Like, they still fuck with this character heavy. So,
Right.
so like, if it can save a dying game, then there's no doubt in my mind, like, people will love seeing him in other mediums, like a cartoon or something like that,
Right.
or even his own video game.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And even that, like, I think that would be an amazing way to tell all the stories. Because that's why I'm saying, like, you can move his, if you move the era, if you make a TV show for T'Challa, but move the era from where we got him in the MCU, and you tell him, like, he can tell stories through background, flashbacks, things like that. But then you have a game where you can play through a lot of those stories and a lot of those conflicts. And
like,
I mean, I think that is even a more, and don't get me wrong, I know everybody doesn't play video games, so it may not be, the best. It's not going to satisfy every single person, but I just think that's an amazing way to do it.
Just as much money as movies nowadays.
Facts.
$1 billion industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just really think, I just think there is potential for his character away from the MCU.
Yeah, there is definitely. Like, and just remember, like, don't you remember, like, after Heath Ledger passed, like, the Joker was obviously on a kibosh in live action for a good amount of years, but I noticed, like, his presence actually increased in other mediums. Like, they started using him a hell of a lot more in cartoons and video games, comics. So, like,
started showing up everywhere.
He was out of the live action game for a while, like, his presence just increased in other mediums in the wake of Heath Ledger's passing. So who knows? Maybe the same might happen for T'Challa.
I would hope. I really hope so, man. I hope that they see the spike in that Avengers game and people buying that DLC, and they go, they look at one of them guys, somebody, Guerrilla Games, Insomniac, Sucker Punch, somebody, and say, make this T'Challa game, make this Wakanda game, make this Black Panther game, please, like, and get the same guy to do the perform. Like, let's go today. Like, let's start it, because I would be very hyped to see that. I think there's a lot of potential in that. And if you can do something like that the same way, then when you bring him back eventually in the MCU in some other way, I think it'll ease people into that. You know what I mean? Ease people into seeing the new version of it. And especially, and I think people have to remember on the other side of it is, it's not like, hey, we're rebooting this series and we're putting a new actor here and everybody's recast. This is the same universe that we've been watching since 2008, 2000, whatever now, 2008, right? Mm-hmm. So if we've been like, this is the same universe, these are the same people we've been seeing. And obviously, Chadwick hasn't been in it since that long, but the point is, like, it's still going to be the same faces around. And so for him not to be there is always going to feel a little off to people. It's always going to feel a little weird. So if you can ease people into how we get to this new potential T'Challa, I feel like, you're going to have a better reception of it than people just turning around and having some other guys show up and be like, I'm T'Challa now. And you're like, it doesn't even matter how good they are. You're going to be like, who is this guy? Like, it's just people, right? It's just how people are going to react. Cool. So one of the things that we've gotten over this last couple months now, with all these Marvel shows and stuff coming out, is ways that we could bring T'Challa back now, completely respectfully, that honor the MCU and don't make it weird necessarily in the MCU as of yet. Now, I think the difference is the MCU, while they're sort of aware of other universes and everything like that, and this is the breakdown we've been trying to have on the pod for the longest, but they're aware of other universes within their timelines. They're not all aware of different timelines. So because there's not enough people aware of all their different timelines, it's going to be a little weird. Like, they're going to have to explain to us when people understand that there's other timelines and other variants of people that could show up, to then make it a more, not seamless, but make it a more understandable transition if we bring in another, Chadwick. So basically, obviously, Loki introduced variants and different timelines. Say it again.
You said another Chadwick, like another T'Challa.
Oh, T'Challa. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I'm sorry. See, that's what happens. That's why it's definitely not another Chadwick, no other Chadwicks. But another T'Challa. So to get another T'Challa from another timeline or whatever with Kang and all this kind of stuff that we have going on, they can pull a variant for us now, right? That's kind of the out that we've been given, and I think everybody kind of jumped on that pretty quick. It wasn't, you didn't have to be a Marvel genius, right, to see it. It was kind of obvious out there for us once the Loki show kind of wrapped up and they kind of explained, how stuff works. So, now that there's a lane, right, for him to come in, what do you think the best way would be for us to actually get T'Challa back, a different variant of him? How would you go about kind of crafting that story for how this other T'Challa ends up in our main MCU?
Okay, well, obviously you all saw my blog post writing about how why they should bring him and how they can go about it. And I think basically I remember seeing a different show with you guys saying okay, maybe this new T'Challa can come from a reality where Wakanda got destroyed, and
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Then
He listened to the pod for real.
Yeah, and then he comes to the main timeline and he just sees this okay, I can protect this Wakanda. This can be my big second chance. And it's looking likely that Shuri is gonna be the new Black Panther. And I said bringing in a new T'Challa ain't gonna undermine her in any way, because in the comics, T'Challa, he was having difficulty balancing his life as a superhero and a king, and then Shuri was all like, yo, it's good that you're out here saving the world, but you still got a country you needed to run. So then he's all like, okay, look, I go off into the world, help the Avengers, you hold it down here in Wakanda. And they broke tradition, and they were Black Panther at the same time. So
Okay.
so if they were to go the variant route, they can do the exact same thing.
Yeah, it would be a dope way to do it. Yeah. You can still go be the guy with the Avengers and be the Black Panther, but I'm the rightful. They don't even have to do it that same way, because she'd be the rightful queen of Wakanda right now.
At that point, yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool. I like that. I like that a lot.
And another thing, a lot of you are wondering, okay, would it make sense to bring in a variant of him to the main universe? It already happened with Gamora.
Yeah,
true.
Yep.
Don't you remember she got yeeted off a cliff in Infinity War, and then a time displaced version of her comes to the main timeline in Endgame.
2014 Gamora.
Yep. Older, younger Gamora from the past comes in, and now she's there, but she doesn't remember being in love with Star-Lord and all this. So yeah, which was a weird time thing. The MCU does have some inconsistencies. As much as I enjoy it, some of this stuff, and we're gonna get into it on Sunday, Jahra, but this last What If episode definitely messed up some of the continuity that they set up. But I mean, it's all right though. But I'm just taking it as it's What If.
There was some interesting stuff happened there, but yeah, we'll get into that later
for sure. But yeah, no, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, yeah, and I mean, you took it right from me, because that's exactly what I was going to mention again. Is they bring him from a destroyed Wakanda? I think that's that's not crazy.
I'd also have it so that when he comes to the main timeline, just don't have everyone be like, oh yeah, T'Challa's back, yay, and then just pick up where you left off as if nothing happening. No, that would be lazy.
Oh no, you have to address the yeah.
So I think the way they could go about it is just have the Wakandans just be distrustful of him at first, because it's not their T'Challa, and then they can be all like, yo, we just healed from losing our T'Challa, and then this guy comes in, and what the fuck, dude? And
yeah,
of course, not everybody will be hostile towards him. I think a good dope way you can go about it is having Baku be the one to warm up to him first.
Yeah, that could work.
That'll just be a good way to show just how far he's come since the first movie, and
right.
And then eventually a threat comes to Wakanda, maybe a variant of Claw that's more comic accurate and has his sound powers and all that. So maybe a threat comes to Wakanda that only T'Challa can stop. He obviously stops it, and then he just wins everyone's trust by the end.
Right, yeah.
And I feel like Black Panther 2 is gonna have some meta commentary on how Chadwick is gone, but Wakanda is forever. So if they were to bring in a variant of him for Black Panther 3, I feel like that can have some meta commentary on nobody can ever replace Chadwick, but there always needs to be a T'Challa.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, because that character just means that much to so many people. Like, and it would just suck to just lose him permanently, you know?
Yeah. I don't think he's done forever. I think it's like you said. I think it's a little bit of a shelving, and and like I keep reiterating, I think it's just a little bit of people of them trying to understand how to navigate it in a movie franchise that's so different than anything else. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
just so
exactly.
different. Like, yeah, it's hard. It's definitely a tough position to be in. I don't envy the position they were in to make the choice they had to
Oh,
make.
not at
You
all.
know what I mean? And here's the thing: people were going to be mad either way. You know what I mean? They were going to get backlash either way. They're going to get people who wanted him recasted. They were going to get people who said it was disrespectful. And no matter what they did, they were going to have a side of people upset that they're going to have to compromise for. So I do think that, over time, as people heal and can see the bigger picture in some of it, then yeah, I think it'll come. But this is why I'm very middle of the road, because I like I said earlier, I'm not married to those stories. So if they can tell me those stories in another medium eventually, some way, I'd be happy with that. Whereas in the MCU, I'm okay with them adapting to things that are just kind of happening in the real world on the fly in the movie. You know what I mean? Like Wakanda having to deal without having T'Challa in this main MCU is really interesting, especially considering nothing in the MCU that we've seen so far would suggest that he was going anywhere, right? So this has only become a problem for them because of the real world implications that have happened. So to have to see a movie franchise like this try to, go on the fly and still make it.
Well, on the subject of them not having anything planned for him in the future, like I disagree with that because, like, you remember, like at the end of the first movie, like when he's opening up Wakanda, like T'Challa was literally just getting started.
Oh no,
He
no, no! I
was, and
wasn't saying it like.
that,
No, no. Go ahead, finish. Go ahead.
and like there's actually pictures of a deleted that scene from Endgame that never made it past the cutting room floor of T'Challa talking to Doctor Strange on what should be done to protect the world now that Tony Stark is gone. So they did have stuff planned for him, but then unfortunately he succumbed to cancer, and then they're all like, oh damn, how do we navigate through all this? So yeah.
Yeah, hopefully I didn't say that wrong. What I was trying to say was that they had a plan. What I'm saying is the MCU hasn't shown us anything to say that he was going to. When I said that, I meant it in the way that nothing in the MCU has shown us that T'Challa was about to pass away or die or anything like that.
Now I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Nothing in the MCU is like he's gone or he's out of here. Like everything seemed like, yeah, he still has a lot to go. There's still a lot happening, right? Like he's T'Challa. So then for this to happen and them have to adjust for it, I just think could make for interesting movie writing, story writing, could make for just some deeper themes in this next movie. Cause we don't know, like, you know what I mean? A lot of people criticize the MCU for not having, these deeper movies or these more emotional movies or more themes in the movie. I think Shang-Chi, oh my goodness. I think Shang-Chi, trying to speak to Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi.
Shang, not Shang. I'm trying to speak too fast. Shang-Chi, I think with Shang-Chi, I think that movie did a great job of like showing different like themes and different emotions throughout everything. I think that's one of the things that DC has always had over Marvel for me was the way they're able to showcase different emotions and feelings through their characters. And I feel like now, because of what's happened with Chadwick, they have a chance in Black Panther 2 to kind of address some of that, because Black Panther 2 before might have just been, Chadwick going on another mission, developing different relationships, all the rumors of like Namor and stuff like that coming in, different things like that. It could have been a more, action focused movie. And there's nothing wrong with that. I would love to see that. But now that this has happened, they can give us maybe a little bit more of the emotional side of things. How does Wakanda handle death? How does Wakanda handle people passing? You know what I mean? Obviously, we saw little bits in that of like with things happening, like with T'Chaka and stuff like that. But we didn't get to see, a full on, like they could do this more in-depth storytelling around this situation to kind of get us through what happened here, explain it through the movie, and then move us on to the next part where, then we can get more of the action and stuff like that. I just feel like it gives them that path to make just a deeper story. Not to say that they are doing anything insensitive with Chadwick's passing, but just like, the way Wakanda would now handle this happening, since it's happened so out the blue, right? I just feel like it gives them a chance to give us some deeper themes in the movie potentially than maybe that we would have gotten before. So I hope they take advantage of that in some way.
Okay, I see where you're coming from, but the thing that's really had me apprehensive about this movie, and it ain't just about T'Challa. It's like with the passing of Chadwick, I just feel like, well, by the time this movie comes out, it's gonna be like nearly 2 years since he passed, and I just feel like like if they do kill him off, like that's just kind of gonna reopen a wound a little bit, and like you already had, like I was on Twitter when the Killmonger episode came out, there were already some people saying that when Killmonger smoked T'Challa, this kind of makes me feel a certain way knowing what happened in real life. So I'm like,
that's a little oversensitive, I think, but
yeah, I know, but it's just, I can understand, but we're just gonna have to wait and see, basically.
Yeah, we definitely will. I definitely think that's I definitely think that's a little bit sensitive.
I didn't really feel that vibe from the episode from that instant. I was like, damn, you got smoked. That sucked. But towards the end, where went to the ancestral plane, and then he talked and it was like cousin. I was like, oh man.
But now that gave me the vibes. Yeah, but
I was like, dang it. Yeah.
But I didn't feel bad about it. Like that made me.
Yeah, like, I didn't really feel like, oh no, time to feel sad. It was just kind of like a man. Yeah,
but I guess it's the thing. It's the thing where it's like these are comic book characters. Random shit happens to them all the time. Exactly. There's this one random what if episode where he gets smoked easier than we would have. Like no, like come on, like yeah, okay. This is one universe where Killmonger just got the better of him. Okay, bro. It's one random. The intro just told you it's infinite universes. Like,
yeah, right. However, these characters right. It's just the whole allure of what if this, besides all the different scenarios, is just all these characters or likenesses are based on the actors. If they just drew their face different, then yeah, whatever. It's just a different smoke. That's where it comes from.
I guess.
But if all these characters in season 2 what if had completely different likenesses outside, the actors not coming to reprise their roles, then it'd be probably a lot different in my opinion. So that's just kind of what comes with it too. And they play, and these are all plays on movies, different, whether it be whole storylines being tweaked or just scenes being tweaked or
little pieces,
yeah. So that's where it comes from. So yeah.
Obviously, like all this what if stuff, it was completed before he died.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's that too, like
case of like a sad coincidence, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. They weren't like, oh yeah, perfect. This worked out well. Like that's dark.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. Like I mean, how many characters have we seen die in What If now? Like all of them.
Especially Tony.
How would it have felt if now nothing ever happened to? And we still have Star-Lord T'Challa that's alive, right? Like that he's still alive and he exists.
He's alive.
Paying attention to What If, that. He's
alive.
Involved. He's alive. There you go. He's alive. No spoilers.
It's still at large, but
and there you as well. But right now he's alive. So it's just like I don't know, man. I listen. I get it. People are sensitive. I understand that. I respect that. But when it comes to some of it, it's like, come on, man. It's an animated adaptation. It's something they did way before. And obviously, when they killed him off quickly in that episode, they had so much more planned for him, so many more wins planned for him that, this little one-off in an animated series that's not gonna, you know what I mean? They're not gonna, I don't know that you'd take that so personally, but I understand that people are sensitive right now. And these what if episodes are kind of our like farewells to Chadwick as far as seeing him as T'Challa in this. And these are kind of the last bits we'll get from that. So I get people only want to see him maybe in the best possible lights, but he can be in a good light in different ways. I think him dying that way in that episode, but then being able to come back in the ancestral plane and like give that speech to Killmonger, like, yo, you think this solved everything, but you don't know that. Like, I feel like that he still served a purpose in there. He still was a good portrayal of him. So I don't know, man. I just maybe a little too sensitive.
Like with the whole, like basically when I wrote that blog post, I just wanted to let everyone know, like, yo, even if T'Challa unfortunately does get killed off in this new movie, like Marvel still has an avenue to still use them, like with this
Yeah.
whole multiverse stuff. And
Mhm.
like it ain't just T'Challa. Like I feel like now that the multiverse is open, we're gonna see like versions of other characters we already know. Like maybe they could do a Secret Empire movie and we can see a variant of Steve Rogers that became Hydra Cap, and I'm just honestly expecting to see a variant of Hulk that became the Maestro, you know? So
that seemed well. I guess it really comes down to the rights and distribution, all that. Still, Universal still got their hands all mucked up in that.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why the Hulk stuff from Marvel is in the MCU is still kind of lacking. Which I mean, I see they're sidestepping it with She-Hulk, but that's another discussion. But now my show Hulk would be dope.
Yeah, like basically, like I wrote that blog post to just let everyone know, like there's really no reason for Marvel to just retire T'Challa permanently when they have the means in universe to still use him in a way that can still be respectful to Chadwick.
100%.
Get what I'm saying?
100%. 100%. Yeah, definitely.
Especially when they prove that they could do it with some of the other characters that have already died in Kanan, but they're still being used, like Loki and Gamora. So
true. Yep.
You know, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So
facts. Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree, man. I 100% agree. I am while I'm not necessarily the person who's gonna run down the street, you know, shouting recast T'Challa. I'm not against it. I fully understand, and with the avenue they gave us, I honestly don't think there's a logical reason to say no.
With the avenue they gave us.
Yeah. There's no logical reason for them to say no. Not anymore. So yeah, bro. That's there we have it, man. No reason for y'all not to recast him. No reason, not necessarily recast, but no reason for y'all to cast a variant T'Challa. There's no reason for y'all not to do that. Now that it's here. Actually, you could cast a couple variant T'Challas and, you know, do whatever. Make them fight it out to see who would be the next Black Panther. That's big. I don't know. Do something. I'll make it fun. I don't know. Do anything. It's multiverse now. Whatever.
That would be something.
do something. I don't know. Make it
them Disney Plus one-offs.
You know, do anything. Whatever. Yeah, Disney Plus the fight for the next Black Panther, and it's just a bunch of T'Challa variants coming in, and we just get to see a bunch of dope action. I don't know. Why not?
Yeah. Well, Ryan Coogler and the rest of them are talented storytellers. So if they do decide to bring in a variant, I'm sure they can come up with a good story and make it work.
Oh yeah. And that's the biggest thing for me is I trust them to do something respectful of it and still give us a good story, regardless of if T'Challa is, you know, involved in the story or not. I expect them to still give us a good story, regardless of it. And you know, so. You know, yeah, hopefully down the line they do bring T'Challa back, man. I would like to see more of these stories. And hopefully in the meantime, they do what we suggested and, you know, really beef up the other media presence.
All cylinders and other mediums.
Yeah, give us everything, man. The video games, give us more DLC characters, throw them in the next Spider-Man game too. Anything, even if you just show up and talk to Peter for 2 seconds or Miles for 2 seconds, just throw them in there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we seen the Wakanda embassy in Spider-Man. That's in in the game.
Yeah, it is.
It is in the game. So
Sony really committing to creating their own little Marvel universe with that new Wolverine game that's about to come out. They confirmed that it's in the same universe as the Spider-Man game. So I'm like,
hey man, all I'm saying is beef them up, man. Beef them up in these other areas. Get us used to hearing other voices, voice T'Challa. Just get us more used to that, and I think the people will come around and be down for whenever the live action new T'Challa person decides to come in, man. And you know, I think you can get there. So
yeah, exactly.
Cool, man. Any last things you want to tell the people, John?
Okay, well, like if you want to read the blog post that I wrote on how they could handle it and some other movie reviews that I've done in the past, like you can go check out my blog called John's Lair. It's on blogger.com, and that's it pretty much. Like it's been a pleasure talking with y'all.
For sure, bro. For sure.
Absolutely.
Glad you took some time out to come talk with us and educate us on why we need to get a new T'Challa in there. I appreciate you.
I learned a lot. I learned a fair bit.
Yeah, I'm leaning your way now. I'm leaning your way. You got me leaning. I'm in the middle, but I'm leaning. you know. Cool, man. Geronimo, appreciate you for joining me midweek here, doing shorts. Look at us.
Hey man, yeah, just managed to fit into the busy schedule. That's a half joke, but no, I'm always glad to be here. Get a little extra content for the folks. So no, it was good. I learned a lot. It was good having you on.
All right. Well, it's been nice, fellas. Thanks. See you.
All right.
Peace out.
All right, guys. Thank y'all for joining us in Two Ugly Nerd Shorts.
Peace.
You're